Anima libera, ti senti candida, lassù nel cielo volerai. Anima libera, sempre mi illumina nel buio dei pensieri.
So, what it is, he leads off with his conquistador. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I go out with my Hippowdon. So I set up the Sandstorm, like, okay, my Hippowdon's physically defensive. Sandstorm is up, it gains a special defense boost. And I forgot I had red card on this again, and I always keep forgetting because I don't use my Sandstorm team. But like I don't know. So I'm like, okay, Hippowdon comes out, and like it's an Electivire, and I'm like, oh, I should have did the Earthquake. This is the second time this happens, and I did Roar again. So he brings out the Scizor. His Scizor does Bullet Punch. I take that fairly well, very well with that, and I go for the Yawn because I'm like, Scizors are usually dangerous, and I can take any hit he has to hit me with. So he switches out his Scizor and brings out his Conquistador. So I go for the Earthquake. And I'm like, okay, just cause damage. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Does what? Minimum, barely half. Gets hit with the Sandstream. But he heals up with his leftovers. And I'm like, okay. So I go with another Earthquake. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's gonna be a 3-hit KO. And I barely survived the Drain Punch. But he gains the HP back, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna get hit by Sandstorm. Then he goes out with the lefties, and I'm like, okay, I didn't give my Hippowdon anything good. I should have never did that. So he goes with the Mach Punch. Hippowdon's dead. I didn't really know if I should switch or not, so I was just like, leave it alone. He's gonna die anyways, or technically faint. So I left it alone. So Conquistador's out there recovering from lefties, and I'm like, okay, let me just get a free kill on his Conquistador. Because I believe he goes for the Mach Punch. And I'm like, And I take it. And I'm like, wow. I took a lot from that one Mach Punch. And I was just like, oh well. So I go with the Earthquake, stab, just to hit him, get rid of the Conquistador at least. And then he brings out the Scizor. I'm like, I don't really have anything to kill this Scizor on this Excadrill. So it's like, okay, Excadrill's gone. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm cool with that. So I'm like, okay, he goes for the Bullet Punch on my Garchomp. And I'm like, I can't take that. So I go straight for the Fire Fang. Most people don't keep Fire Fang on their Garchomps. So I just left it. I like Fire Fang. So it pretty much one-hit KO. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna make a comeback. Oh yes, Electivire is going down. So I go with the Earthquake, and like his Electivire is pretty beast, I think. And he survives because he holds on to the Focus Sash. And I was just like, oh my god, oh my bejeeblers, gosh. And then he's just like, oh, I'm gonna Ice Punch you for the win. And I'm like, no, you're such a douchebag. Stop being a douchebag. Who holds Focus Sash on their Evire? Oh, and I lost the battle. But I thought it was pretty epic because I usually don't see Evires with that. And like, that was pretty epic. And like, well, Conquistador and Scizor, I misplayed a lot because I forget the items that I have. But oh well, it was an epic battle.